Hello and welcome to Coconut Chat. My name is Mankirat Kaur and here's another episode of FaceTime with Mankirat. Our guest of the show is Miss Sanjana Chatlani, who is the founder of the Bombay Lettering Company, turned her passion for calligraphy into a global recognized creative venture. From a background in media and luxury at Moet Hennessy LVMH, her journey shifted after a life-changing calligraphy retreat in Tuscany. Trained by renowned masters, she built a brand that collaborates with icons like Louis Vuitton, Cartier, Gucci, and personalities such as Deepika Padukone and Manish Malhotra. Her milestones include being the first Indian calligrapher chosen for Priyanka Chopra Nick Jonas' wedding and designing commemorative coin packaging for the Indian government mint. Amazing work, ma'am. So we welcome you today.
Thank you.
Okay, so before the Bombay Lettering Company came into existence, what did your life look like? And what were you seeking at that stage, personally or professionally?
It's so funny because before I started the Bombay Lettering Company, I was very much or very sure that I was going to climb the corporate ladder.
Okay,
I was excited by it. I was working for Moet Hennessy, which was a French wines and spirits company, and I was on the marketing teams.
okay,
So I was learning how luxury marketing and branding works, and I was enjoying that world. And to be really honest, I had no plans of ever starting my own business, and never in my wildest dreams did I think I could do something around art or an art form. So
yeah,
I was actually very happy in my corporate world bubble. I was going to apply for my MBA, I was going to go abroad to study, and I was hoping to, build a career in marketing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and calligraphy began as something you explored alongside a more conventional career. So what gave you the courage to take it seriously and eventually make the leap?
So while I was working at Moet Hennessy, we used to have a calligraphy artist actually come into our
Oh,
office because it's a luxury brand. And
yeah,
every time any luxury brand sends out gifts to,
yeah.
maybe an influencer or a celebrity, and if we would send a bottle of champagne or something like that, it would always go with a really beautiful handwritten note card done in
Okay,
calligraphy. And so I would keep seeing this man come to our office. He would write these beautiful cards. I'd observe his pen and he'd have this nib and he'd dip into a bottle of ink and it would look so beautiful. And that's when something inside me said, wow, I didn't even know calligraphy was a profession.
yeah,
We had all, maybe when we were in school or when we were younger, we took a class in on calligraphy and then we forgot about it, and
yeah.
that's kind of what had happened to me. But I was always very artistic, I was very creative, I enjoyed doodling, I enjoyed writing, I enjoyed things that were actually very precise. And
Okay,
actually calligraphy is a very technical art form
yeah,
because you are working with very specific tools, you're writing at a specific angle, the proportions you're working with have to be correct for that particular style of calligraphy that you're doing.
yes.
So it's actually quite technical in its own way and form. And because I had enjoyed all of that so much, when I saw this man in our office writing, that's when something in me got intrigued and I started looking online for different
Okay.
calligraphers or what people in the world were doing with
Hmm.
calligraphy. And I just started dabbling. And you know how Instagram is.
Yes.
It's like a rabbit hole. It sucks you in. And
Hmm.
so I found some calligraphers online and I was blown away as to just how interesting the work they were doing. I saw someone who specialized only in wedding calligraphy. I saw
Okay.
someone who was doing calligraphy for brands and corporates. Then I found the lady who used to be the chief calligrapher at the White House in the
Yeah.
US. And I was amazed as to how, a big deal it was and what an interesting profession it was. That led me to just create an Instagram account and start learning. And
Okay.
that's when, I had this conventional, traditional life and job and plan. And calligraphy just happened by chance out of nowhere. And I started doing it on the side of my full-time job. And I started attending workshops, learning with different teachers, posting pictures of my work
Oh,
until I started getting inquiries from people saying, "Oh, can I place an order or can you do
yeah.
this for me?" or how much do you charge? And that's when I said, oh, wait, I didn't think I could do this professionally. But that's kind of what led me to start, discovering it or exploring it in a slightly more serious and professional way. So I did do
Okay,
it on the side of my full-time job for about a year and a half.
great.
Yeah.
So, in the early days of building the Bombay Lettering Company, what were some realities of entrepreneurship that surprised you the most?
In the beginning, so there was a point where I realized I had to quit my corporate job.
Yeah,
I reached this point where I said, you know what, I have this day job from nine, not even 9 to 5, it was like 9 to 9.
yeah,
And I'd come home at night really excited to sit on my desk and do all my calligraphy jobs and my
yeah.
calligraphy orders. And I was going crazy. So at the end of that year and a half of juggling both, I decided to quit my corporate job and go full time with my calligraphy. And
Okay.
that's when I realized that, okay, I have no idea what's going to happen here, but I don't want to regret this later.
Yeah,
I don't want to have any, what ifs. I want to give this a shot and I want to see where it can go. So for the initial few, months and years, it was just me and maybe my assistant. But slowly
okay.
we grew into a team. And now, of course, we're a team of 7 of us with a studio. And there were so many things I started learning about entrepreneurship that were just sort of blowing my mind.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of people don't talk about things like it can be really lonely because when you're
Yeah,
a solo business owner, you don't have a co-founder, you don't have
yes,
anyone with you, you don't have anyone in your family who's run a creative business before. So
yes,
sometimes it also gets pretty hard and lonely because you have nobody to talk to about so much of what you're going through,
yes.
you know. And another thing I realized is that um, it it can never stop. You'll never
Yeah,
stop. You
true.
can keep going and going and going. And for me, I realized that my brain was 24/7 just thinking, working, moving. Even I was if I was sleeping or I was resting, my mind was always sort of
Working,
racing
yeah.
in terms of what's next. And I think that's one thing I realized, that when you run your own business or you have your own thing, there's no such thing as a holiday. There's no
Yeah,
such thing as days off. There's no such thing as I can take a break, because it's your baby and you're
yeah.
eating, drinking, breathing that. So I
Doing
mean, of
everything
course, there
with
are
it.
like tons of things that you realize about entrepreneurship and running a business, but in the beginning these were a few things that struck me and I was like, oh my God, okay, this is interesting.
And your work sits at the intersection of craft, design, and business. So, how did you find your voice and visual language in a space that didn't yet have a clear roadmap in India?
When I started doing calligraphy professionally, a lot of people wouldn't even take me seriously
Yeah,
because they would think that, firstly, artists don't understand business.
yeah,
And they would think that, you're not professional, or you may not be able to get things done because, artists are just imagined to be kind of like in their own world. What really worked in my favor, I guess, was the fact that I had the corporate background and I had
okay,
worked in a corporate setting. So that sense of professionalism was already there when I started doing calligraphy professionally. I started, talking to clients, working, managing my business in an extremely, I guess, professional sense that
yeah,
worked really well in our favor. Another thing was that people in India didn't know that you could actually build a career out of an art form
calligraphy,
as niche as calligraphy. And I think that was something that took a while for me to educate my audience, explain why certain things were priced the way they were, why
okay,
something, written by hand costs more than being printed. So there was a lot of educating of the audience. There was a lot of explaining as to why certain things were a certain way. And I think I got a good response. I think with me and my audience, I got a lot of intrigue. I got a lot of people very fascinated by what it is I was doing. But of course, it was a lot of teaching. So I think for me, it was, finding a way to do something I really loved as an art form. But the idea of building a business or building something bigger than me has always fascinated
yeah,
me. Because even at my time at Moet Hennessy, when I was working there, I was learning brand building. We were building
Okay.
a new brand. It was in the luxury space. So brand management and brand building was something I loved. And when I had my own, which was Bombay Lettering, I said, how do I build this? How do I grow this into becoming something bigger than me? And so over the years, as we've evolved into a design studio today, with calligraphy being a core component, but probably not, obviously not the only thing we do now, it's been an interesting, balance of art, but yet running a business, because at the end of the day, uh, we have salaries to pay, rent to pay,
Yes.
numbers to sort of, targets to meet. So it's tricky and difficult when you have to find that intersection between art and business. And I think being able to do that is what we're constantly striving for, to know that we're a creative company, we're a creative design studio.
Okay.
Um, but certain decisions we've made, which is expanding into being a design studio, going into the space of wedding invitations or corporate gifting, are also business decisions, because those
Okay.
are things that if you want to expand and you want to grow, you may have to venture into sort of new sort of spaces as well.
Okay. So today, the Bombay Lettering Company is known for its refined aesthetic and thoughtful storytelling. How do you define success at this stage of your journey?
For us, I think when someone looks at our work and they say, "Oh my God, this is so Bombay lettering," or "Oh my God, this is so you," it makes me feel amazing. But slowly, because of the amount of storytelling we've been doing, which is really bringing our clients' vision to life, bringing a couple's vision to life in their wedding invites. Nowadays, when a
Okay.
client, someone looks at the invitation and tells the couple, "Oh, this is so you," that's what gives me a lot of joy, because we've been able to bring that brief out the way it needed to. So that's like a really good feeling as well. Um, I feel, just we're on this path to kind of discover who we are, what we stand for,
Yeah.
what our aesthetics are. And we've dabbled a lot, we've played a lot, we've tried to go in a lot of different directions. But I think 7, 8 years in, we're now finding our voice. People know us for, extreme attention to detail. People know us for high quality work. They know us for working on paper, working with pen, working in the space of invitation design, but very, very unique and very differently done. And I think those are things we're really enjoying as well. And we're kind of just seeing where the path takes us.
Okay. And I must say, from ink to impact, your journey proves that art speaks when passion leads. So I must say that thank
Oh,
you very much for being with us today and inspiring countless creators in this generation right now. You are doing a wonderful job, and I hope that you grow much more in your life. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us today.
thank you so much, Mankirat. That was really,
Thank
really
you.
nice.